This is going to be a beginner-friendly tutorial. I will take you through step-by-step how to make this. The only prior knowledge you need is how to create a slip knot and how to chain. For this project, you want to use a light yarn. Since this is an accessory that is going on our headset, we don't want it to be too big. I'm using a super fine weight 1 cotton yarn. It doesn't matter what kind of yarn you use. You can use acrylic or whatever you would like. Weight 1 or 2 is best for this project. I wouldn't recommend going over 3. I tried this with a worsted weight 4 yarn and it didn't work. It was just way too big. However, if you are just making a pumpkin for any other project that's not a headset accessory, then it doesn't matter what weight yarn you use. And for most of the project, I will be using a 2.25 mm hook. Let's go ahead and create our slip knot. Now we're going to go ahead and create 18 chains. If you're a beginner, it will be helpful to mark the first chain and the last chain with a stitch marker. That way at the end, when we go to sew the ends together, you will know exactly where those 2 stitches are. So I'm coming down to my first chain and I'm going to place a stitch marker right there. And then the last chain I just made, I'm going to put a stitch marker right there. Just like that. So our chains here are going to determine how high our little pumpkin is. My chain is about 2.5 inches, a little bit over 2.5. And then if I measure my pumpkin here, of course, it's kind of hard to get an exact measurement, but it's about 1.5 inches. Generally, what I found from testing the length of this is whatever your length is while you're working with it flat, your end result will be about half the size, maybe a little bit more than that. Just keep that in mind when you're trying to decide how tall you want your pumpkin to be. It's not going to be this tall because after we go through and sew it and everything, it's going to kind of come down like this. So you can kind of curve your chain like this and just to kind of get an ideal for how tall you want it to be. Now we are going to chain 1 and this is going to be our turning chain. It does not count as a stitch. The very first row that we're going to do here is going to be different than all of the rest of them, but then we will be doing just a repeating pattern. But for the first row, I just want you to take a look at your chain right here. So these 2 stitches in the front, these are just the 2 loops in the front here. It kind of looks like a V. And then when we turn our chain around, in the back here, we have this bump right here. This is referred to as the back bump, and I've found that when I'm making ribbing, I think it always looks better when I work the first row into the back bump here. We are going to be creating half double crochets, so we're going to make 18 half double crochets into each chain, and again, working into the back bump. To make a half double crochet, we need to place an extra loop on our hook first. Take your hook like this, and then just wrap the yarn around your hook. Turn your chain around, and your first back bump, you'll see that we have our stitch marker here. That's going to be the first back bump that we work into. So just insert your hook right there, yarn over, pull up 3 loops, yarn over, and then pull through all 3 loops. So yarn over, insert into the next back bump, yarn over, pull up 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 3. Okay, let's create one more of those together. So yarn over to put an extra loop on your hook, insert into the next back bump, yarn over, pull up 3 loops, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Another thing to note if you're a beginner is when you have these 3 loops, sometimes it can be really tricky when you're a beginner to pull through all 3 of these at once. Keep in mind that you can always yarn over and then pull through 1 loop and then pull through the next loop and then pull through the last one. You can always take it slow like that. You don't have to pull through all 3 at once. So let's go ahead and create the remaining half double crochets into the back bumps. Okay, I have created all of my half double crochets, so here is how it looks. Now we're going to begin our repeating pattern. So no matter which end you are at, whether you're at the bottom or the top, you are going to chain 1. You're going to turn your work. So now we are going to be working into the back loops only. So to help you identify that, you can see we have our stitches right here. You can see the V's. So this one closest to us here, this is the front loop because as we're looking at it, it is in the front. This loop back here, this is the back loop. All of these loops in the back here. On this repeating pattern, we're always going to be working into the back loop here. So we are going to skip this chain 1 right here because this does not count as a stitch. And then we're going to create a half double crochet into the back loop right here. And then into the next back loop. All we're doing is just creating half double crochets, working into that back loop. When I'm working on ribbing, I pretty much always count my stitches because they can be pretty hidden, especially when you get to the top or when you're at the bottom. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to tell where the stitches are, so I always count to make sure that this number is exactly what I need it to be. For me, that's 18 stitches. The 18 chains I made, that's how many stitches I should always have. Having this number always be the same is what's going to give you really nice, clean ribbing. Go ahead and create the rest of your half double crochets into these back loops. Okay, now that we have made it to the top here, and you'll always know if you're on the top or bottom by looking at your tail that we started with our slip knot. So our tail is down here. So this is the bottom and this is the top. We have now created one ridge. One ridge is basically 2 rows that we've created here. So as you're working through this, you always want to end your ribbing at the top, not at the bottom. You can see how it kind of creates this elevated level right here in the middle, and this will be more obvious as we create more rows. I'm going to talk more about that later, but let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how to work this down now. So now we are just repeating the same exact pattern. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work. Now you might be thinking, oh, so now that I've turned this, when it was over here, this was the back loop. So when I turn it, is this still the back loop? And no, it's not. So when you turn it, it changes. It's always going to be the same. The loops closest to you are considered the front loops, and the loops furthest from you are the back loops. This is a really nice and simple pattern because you're just repeating that same thing no matter what side you're on. We're just going to be working into the back loop still, exactly what we did on the other side. So again, we skip the chain 1 and then we're going to make our half double crochet into the back loop. Just like this. So it's exactly like the other side. It doesn't matter if you're on the top or the bottom, it's going to be the same exact thing. So let's go ahead and create the rest of those half double crochets. Now we are back at the bottom. So we just made one side of our next ridge, and now we're going to make the other side because each ridge is 2 rows. And we are just going to repeat that same exact pattern. So you chain 1, turn, skip the chain, and then make your 18 half double crochets into the back loops. I'm going to go ahead and make a few more rows, and then I'm going to talk to you about the length of our pumpkin. Okay, I have a couple of rows done now, and I just wanted to show you how this is looking so you can really see the ridges now. The next thing that you need to decide for your pumpkin is how many ridges do you want in each section. Now, when I say section, I am referring to the parts that are between this line right here. So these little parts that poke out. So what I found in my testing is that 2 ridges per section looks really good. But depending on the size that you're making your pumpkin, if you're making a big pumpkin, maybe you want to do 3 ridges per section. That's totally fine. But it is something that you want to decide at this stage because that's going to dictate how many of these that you're going to make. You also want to decide how many sections you want. My pumpkin has 5 sections, which I think looks really good. But again, pumpkins come in lots of different sizes and all sorts of things, so you can really do whatever you want. So for me though, I'm going to do 2 ridges per section, and I'm going to have 5 sections in total. But right now, I have 3 sections done. Or if you like, you could think of this in actual rows. So in each section, I technically have 4 rows. So I'm going to be making 20 rows. It's really just important to plan this out and think about that, because when you go to do the end of this, where you're bringing that yarn tail through these and making those sections, that probably doesn't make sense right now, but we'll see that later. You want each section to have the same amount of ridges, otherwise it's just going to look a little strange and wonky. And if you want to compare your size to mine, at the end, when I create all of mine equals 5 inches in length. And again, my height is about 2.5 inches. So you may want to adjust your number differently than mine. This is really flexible. You can do whatever you would like. Okay, my little flat pumpkin is done, and now we're going to make it actually look like a pumpkin. When you are done, remember that I said we always stop at the top. So here's my tail down here, and I finished up here on the top. We're gonna sew this together with slit stitches. So this right here will technically end up being my right side, and this is going to end up being the wrong side. It doesn't matter because this is reversible, just to keep it simple so that you're folding yours exactly like I am. I have where I finished away from me right now, and I'm taking the end that we started with, and I'm just gonna fold it up. I'm gonna insert my hook, and then I'm gonna chain 1. And then we're going to turn our work. So now we're working this way. Okay, for sewing this together, so we are going to be taking the tops like this. So looking at the top here, we have our 2 V's on each side. Because we worked into the back bump on the first row, that's why we can see these V's here. That's why I like to work into the back bump. So as we sew this together, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be inserting through the back loop on this side, so this loop right here. And then on this side, we're going to be going through the front loop right here. And that's just going to make it really blend in with our other ridges when we fold this back around, which I will show you how that looks. As we have been, we're going to ignore that chain 1. I'm just going to move this stitch marker out of the way, and I'm going to take my hook, insert it through the back loop, and then on the other side, where your stitch marker is, that's your first stitch, we're inserting it through the front loop. And then we're just going to create a slip stitch. So you just yarn over and pull through both of those stitches and then pull through your loop. So insert through the back loop and then go into the next front loop on the other side. These stitches should be corresponding. So Again, I like to count as I'm going, so I know now that I'm doing my second stitch, just like that. And then through the back loop, through the front loop, create your slip stitch. That's 3, through the back loop, through the front loop, make your slip stitch. And you can also count these. If you lose count and you're wondering where you're at, you can count these V's that are forming right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That first one is always a little hidden looking, so make sure you count them all. We want to have 18 slip stitches by the end, or whatever your number is. So I'm going to go ahead and finish mine. Okay, I'm on my last stitch. I just want to show you this one because it is really hard to see. But here I have my last stitch on this side. I'm going to grab that back loop. And then I'm looking for my mark stitch on this side. I'm going to grab the front loop. And then create my slip stitch. And then we are going to chain 1 and then pull your hook up. So here is how it looks on the wrong side. All right, now we need to cut our yarn, and we want to leave a very long tail because we are going to be going around each end, and then we're also going to be creating those sections with this yarn tail. I don't have like a great method for figuring this out. What I've been doing is I'm looking at my starting area here, and I'm kind of like loosely making a loop around the opening. And I do that 1, 2, 3 times. And I have found that to be a good length. I would always go more than you think that you need. I would rather have extra yarn at the end than to run out and to need more. So then I'm going to take my loop here and pull it because we're going to pull this yarn through. And then go ahead and secure that little knot there. Now we're going to flip our pumpkin around because we want it to be on the right side. Right now we are on the wrong side. So just take your pumpkin have this over here away from you, and then you're just gonna take it through. There we go. And here is how our seam is looking on the right side. It is very defined, which this is like where the seam would be on the regular part here, so it doesn't like sink in there. What I like to do is when I am making those sections with the yarn here, when we eventually go to do that, I always start with this seam part because that way you don't notice that really big dip in there because the yarn's going to be pulling this anyways, but I will show you that when we get to that part. So go ahead and leave your stitch markers in here for now because it might help you out if you're a beginner. The only thing I'm going to do is I am going to move this stitch marker. We're going to move the one that is by our yarn right now. So remove the stitch marker because it was kind of like in between these ridges, but I want it to be at the top of one of these ridges. Find the next ridge to the left and then just grab a random loop at the top and just place your stitch marker there. This tail can just go in here. We don't need this. It's just gonna sit in the pumpkin and then it'll just be in there when we sew it together. We are going to grab our darning needle now because we're going to close the one end of the pumpkin. Going to begin where our stitch marker is, and all we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing like a zigzag to close this. If you look at the top of your ridges here where it pokes out, you'll see a loop up here. See this loop? It's okay if you don't get this in the exact spot the whole way around, but just try your best to be consistent with it, and it'll look better at the end if you do that. So it's where our stitch marker is. That's one of the loops. So each one of these ridges has a loop like this at the top, and that's going to be where I'm going to be inserting my needle the whole way around. To start, I'm going to go through that very first one, and I'm going to insert my needle going towards me. And then I'm gonna go to the next ridge, gonna find that loop, and then I'm gonna insert my needle going away from me. And that's what we're just going to be alternating the whole way around. So go to the next ridge, insert into that loop and pull towards you. Go to the next ridge, insert into this loop and pull away. Now, if you want to make this faster, you can also do this where you insert towards, go to the next one, insert away, go to the next one, insert towards, to the next one, insert away. You can do this with as many as you want. I just like to do a few at a time. And then look at where your yarn is coming to remember which direction you want to go next. So this is going out this way, so that means the next one is going in and then away. After inserting into the last one, then I'm going to come through the one that I started with again. And now we're going to pull this tight. So just pull it. And it should start to form sort of a circle here. Here is how it looks. And we're going to close this better. We can still leave this stitch marker here for right now. As you can see, these kind of form this like little circle that's like pointing. All these lines are kind of pointing into the circle. We are going to insert our needle under these stitches. So just insert your needle underneath them. And we're going to do this the whole way around. If you start to pull, you can see it is starting to tighten this more. I'm going to go ahead and remove the stitch marker now. Okay, so here's how it looks. And as you can see, it's not perfect. It is pretty like holy right here, but that's going to be totally fine because we're not done doing things with this. So as we do more to this, it's really going to close up this hole down here, so don't worry about it. We want to pull this through the middle of this hole now. So insert your needle through the middle of the hole. And then bring it through to the other side. Okay, now we are on the inside of our pumpkin, and I want you to look for your other stitch marker. If you did take it out, that's okay. We're just looking for our seam. So my stitch marker here is here, my seam is right here. This part's a little bit strange, but we're going to be continuing to work with this yarn tail. The step that I'm going to do next is going to help it, because if we just kept working with this, it's really going to start to deform the other side of the pumpkin. So what I want to do is just kind of create a knot so that this yarn tail has some slack here. So I'm really going to make it kind of loose on the inside. I hope that makes sense. I'm just making it really loose. And then I'm finding my seam. I'm going to create a knot on the inside of my seam. I'm just going to insert my needle into a part of the seam here. It doesn't matter where. I'm just doing it towards the top, and just anywhere through it is fine. I'm going to pull the needle through. And then again, I'm just going to make sure that this has a lot of slack right here, because since I just pulled that through, it may have tightened it a bit. So then hold that so that it stays like that. And then we're going to insert our needle back through in the same direction, because we're going to make a knot. pull this through slowly, and you'll see that there's a little loop here. You're going to insert the needle through the loop and then pull, and that's going to make a knot. And that's going to keep that tail nice and loose here, and then it's not going to pull on this end. I'm going to take my stitch marker here. I'm just going to make sure it's at the top of that loop on top of the ridge, just like we did on the bottom. We're going to be inserting into those same loops. So I'm going to go out on the first ridge here that's really close to the seam. You don't want to start too far away from this knot that we made. Insert my needle away from me, go to the next ridge, pull it through. I think I may have said away on the first one, I'm not really sure, but I pulled it towards me. We can just, insert our needle through several of these if you want, and just repeat what you did on the bottom. After I do my last one, I'm going to insert into the first one again. Now don't close this yet because we are going to fill our pumpkin. So I'm going to take some polyfill and I'm going to fill the bottom with some polyfill. You can fill this pumpkin with whatever you want. I'm also going to grab some yarn scrap for mine. I'm just going to put this yarn scrap in here. Once I have some yarn scrap in there, I'm going to throw some polyfill on top. And you don't have to do that. That's just what I like to do for mine. So this is about how full mine is. And now we're going to close our pumpkin. So pull this tight. And again, we're going to do the same thing. So insert under a few of the stitches that formed up here. I'm going to pull it tight again. Okay, when we look at our pumpkin here is that seam that I was talking about. So you can definitely see a difference where that seam is. So we definitely want to put a piece of yarn going around that part. Just so you don't lose track of where it is, just go ahead and leave this stitch marker here for a second. Insert your needle through the middle, and we're going to pull it back through the middle of this side. Just like that. Pull it through, and then I'm going to pull that tightly. You can start to see the pumpkin shape forming. And now we're going to shape our pumpkin. This is when we're going to be making our sections. So each section has 2 ridges in between it. If we look at this here, you can see these stitches right here that are sticking out. Those are my 2 ridges that I want in between each section. And I'm going to be putting the yarn right in the middle like this. So the yarn's going to go up here between the section like that. You want to make sure you're putting this in the right spot because, again, this is going to make your pumpkin look better. It's going to look a lot more even all the way around. Like I said before, though, the very first section that we want to make is right here because this is already kind of indenting in from our seam. So to make the sections, you're just going to take the yarn and wrap it around in that area. Come back up through the top. I'm going to remove this stitch marker now, and then insert your needle through the middle hole and come back out through the middle and then pull this through. And I'm very slowly pulling it for right now. So don't pull it tight yet. Make sure your tail is in the right spot, so it's right in between these ridges. That's exactly where I want it to be. If you need to like straighten it out or anything, this is the time to do it before you tighten it. So mine looks good. So then I'm going to pull this tightly. Try to remember how tightly you're pulling because you want to try your best to stay consistent with that the whole way around. Okay, so I'm going to take my next section. I'm going to start on the other side. So when you're doing this, you want to be really careful. Make sure you count these ridges. You can see them at the top here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that I can make one right here, because then I'll eventually have another one right here. So pull your yarn around, keeping it in the middle of those ridges. I'm going to change my needle now because the curved one is harder to use now at this point. And now insert down through the middle of the pumpkin. It gets harder and harder as this goes to insert through the middle here, so make sure your needle's coming up through the middle. And then pull it through, and remember to do this slowly at first. So I'm gonna find this tail that I'm doing now. I'm gonna count one more time, 1, 2, 3, 4, because I wanna make sure this is really even. And now, it's nice in between my ridges here. I'm going to pull it tightly, just like we did on the other side. And just kind of look at the last one you did and make sure it just looks pretty similar. And take it slow when you're tightening this, because you don't want to tighten this one way more than you tightened the first one. So now I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to make this one over here. It really doesn't matter which order you're going in here. Each time I do one of these, I'm just trying to go to a different section of the pumpkin, because when I was doing my prototype, I just went around. I noticed that the hole was kind of starting to lean towards that side. So that's why I'm kind of going around and starting in different spots. So find your next spot, and then we're just going to repeat what we're doing for each section. So insert down through the middle, turn it around. Sometimes it takes a couple of pokes before you find the middle of the hole. Bring your needle up. And again, I'm just taking this really slow, making sure this didn't get moved while I was trying to poke the needle through. Because as I said, it's going to get harder and harder to pierce that middle hole as you go. So just really make sure that this is still in the right spot and then tighten it. Okay, so here's a good example of why you take this slow, because my string got moved to a section I've already done. So I'm just going to move that over into the right spot. Just like that. That's why you want to take this really slow and just make sure everything is good. Okay, there we go. That is how you do your sections. As you can see, they look really nice and even. And now we're going to hide our tail. And to do that, I'm just going to take my needle through a couple of stitches nearby. It doesn't matter what stitches, just whatever you can get your needle under here. And pull this through. Now I'm going to go through the middle again, so I'm piercing through the middle. Now you want to take your scissors and just be really careful about this, but try to cut as close as you can. And then you can kind of like grab your pumpkin here, try to hide this tail. I kind of stab mine in a little bit, and it should be good because it will get hidden by the next stuff that we're about to do. Now you need to decide what part of your pumpkin is going to be the top. I just go with whichever side looks better. I think that this side looks better than this side, so this is going to be the bottom of my pumpkin, and this is going to be the top. But set that aside for now. We are going to make our 2 strands that are going to tie this pumpkin around our headset. All we're going to be doing is making 2 chains. These chains can be as long as you want. I'm going to go ahead and make my chains. On my prototype, I did 65 chains for each strand, but I want this to be a little bit longer. For this one, I'm probably going to do about 80. It's up to you if you want to count your chains, or you could just start chaining and then you could measure it and then measure your second one and just go by that if you don't feel like counting. So just go ahead and start making your chains however long you want them to be. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and use these star beads that I have. So if you'd like, you can use beads at the end of this, or you don't have to. You could just leave it like this if you want to. When you are done with your chain, you're just going to leave a semi-long tail. We just want it to be long enough that we can get this through our pumpkin. Pull this up and then tighten this knot here. And then I like to create another knot here just to secure it more. I also added these star beads at the end of my chains. I just attached the yarn on the end here to a needle that went through these, and then I pulled the needle through the star, and then I tied a bunch of knots on the bottom, and then I cut the yarn. Okay, so I have my 2 yarn ends here, and now we're gonna get it through the pumpkin. We want these tails to be on the bottom of the pumpkin. So we're gonna insert through the bottom, and we're just going to take it through the middle of that center hole. I'm going to bring it back up through here, and I'm going to try to come through the middle of the top as well. So if you start really yanking this through, you might mess up your pumpkin shape a little bit. So just be careful. I am going to tug on this a bit. Now I'm going to leave this here for right now, and now I'm going to bring my other end through. I'm going to bring up the other end in the same exact way. I'm going to take another darning needle, and then I'm going to insert it through this loop here. Okay, so here is how this looks on the bottom. I'm going to take my 2 ends here at the top, and I'm going to tie a double knot. Now I'm going to take each end and hide them in the pumpkin. So take one end and just insert it down anywhere through the middle here. And then I'm just going to come out at a random point. And then very carefully pull that through. Take your other end and do the same exact thing. Now I'm going to cut this yarn tail. And I'm just going to kind of reshape this, and so that end will hide in the pumpkin. And now we have our 2 ends attached. Now we're going to make our curly leaf, and all you do is create a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 11. Starting in the second chain from the hook, and I am going to work into the back bump just like we did on the ribbing. I'm just going to make a single crochet. So in the second chain's back bump, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, yarn over, and then pull through both loops. So that is how you make a single crochet. And what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 single crochet into each back bump. So we will have a total of 20 single crochets in this same exact stitch. You'll see our back bump kind of sticking up there. Insert your hook back into that back bump, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, yarn over, pull through. Now we have 2 single crochets in that one stitch. Then we'll go to the next back bump, and we will insert another 2 single crochets. By inserting 2 single crochets in each stitch, that is what is going to give us the curl. After you're done with all of your single crochets, we are going to chain 1. We're going to leave just a semi-long tail. Go ahead and pull this up and tighten this. And we're going to set our little curly leaf to the side for right now. Okay, now we are going to make our stem. And to make our stem, we are going to be working in the round. And we need to make a magic ring. To make a magic ring, place your 2 fingers out like this. Place the yarn over your 2 fingers and then secure it with your thumb. Grab the working yarn and wrap it around your 2 fingers and bring it behind this first piece. And then you're going to secure this piece with your other finger here. What we're going to be doing is creating a loop. And to do that, we're going to be going under the first piece and then over the second piece of yarn. And then when we go over the second piece, we're just going to be dragging it and we're going to be rotating our hook and bringing it up here. So under the first piece, grab the second piece of yarn, rotate your hook just like this, and then you have your loop here. Now, if your loop is super loose like this, don't worry. You can just grab the working yarn and tighten it. You want to be able to move your hook through this. Now we are going to take the working yarn and make a loop around our hook. And then you're just going to pull that loop through. Just like that, you've made a magic ring. This is the tail of our magic ring. We are going to pull this. I can make this pretty small because I'm working with a really tiny yarn. You might not want to pull this as small if you're working with a bigger yarn. Now, what is very, very important when you are working into the magic ring is we're going to be working through this like this. But it's really important that we also have the tail on top of our hook. If your tail is down here like this, then you're not going to be able to close your magic ring. So make sure your tail is always on top of your hook when you're inserting through the magic ring. I like to just hold the magic ring and the tail like this. We're going to make 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Insert through the magic ring, yarn over, pull up 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through to make your first single crochet. Insert through the ring and make your second single crochet. And I really am just holding on to this as I'm working. So I'm holding right here, inserting my hook, yarning over, and I'm still holding on this. And then I can move my hand up here if I need to before I yarn over to secure these 2 loops even more, just like that. Okay, after you have made your 6 single crochet, then you're going to pull on the tail here, and it should shut if you worked over the tail correctly. So this is going to be the size of our stem. I'm not going to make it any bigger. If you have a bigger pumpkin or anything, you may need to make this bigger by making more single crochets into the circle, but just kind of hold it up to your pumpkin and make sure it fits it nicely. For this stem, we are going to be just working into a spiral. When we're working into a spiral, we're just working continuous rounds and we're not going to be closing our round. So just find your first single crochet, the first V right here on this side. Insert your hook. And then you're just going to make a single crochet. And now that is the first single crochet of round 2. Go ahead and mark that first single crochet so that you know exactly where it is. And then we're just going to go around and make the rest of our single crochets, and we will always have 6 single crochets. Go into the next stitch and do another single crochet. That's 2. Into the next stitch. And here is my last stitch here. So that was round 2. And as you can see, it's kind of starting to curl up. You can go ahead and kind of fold this so that it is going down this way. It'll be a little bit easier. And now we're going to do round 3. this is the last round. I'm just doing a small little stem, and I'm just going to do the same exact thing. So remove your stitch marker and then make your first single crochet. And then you're going to make 6 in total. And then if you need to, you can stitch mark your first single crochet. Okay, sorry, I did write this down incorrectly in my notes, but actually there is one more round. So there's 4 rounds in total. So you're just doing exactly the same thing for round 4 and just make your 6 single crochets around. So that's what my little stem looks like. And then you can take it and set it on your pumpkin and make sure that you are happy with the length, because you can always do more or less rounds. It'll be exactly the same thing. I'm going to leave a semi-long tail because I am going to sew this onto the pumpkin. Oh, I did forget to chain 1. So just put your hook back in, chain 1, and then pull this through. We're gonna sew our stem onto our pumpkin now. So this part is a bit tricky. We're gonna try to grab the yarn around the circle here the best you can. That's where I'm going to be attaching the stem. So go ahead and grab a few strands there and then pull this through. And then go into the next stitch and you're gonna insert your needle down through that stitch. And then you're going to grab some more strands on the pumpkin. Then go through the next stitch. And you're just going to repeat this round. I'm going to do mine 6 times because I have 6 stitches. Okay, after your stem is on there, now I'm just going to hide my yarn. I'm just going to kind of insert underneath this, and I'm gonna go through that middle there, just anywhere in the middle. I'm gonna come back out at a random point. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other tail. And then I'm going to cut these ends off. Now we're going to attach our leaf. And to attach the leaf, I'm just going to insert under the stem here. I'm going to pull this out and it's going to come up to the other side. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other end. I'm bringing it out to the same exact spot as the other one. I'm going to tie a knot to secure this. And now I'm just going to hide these ends through the pumpkin. I'm going to go down through the middle under the stem and just come out at a random point. And then you're going to cut off your ends. Hey, yay, our cute little pumpkin is all complete. Now I'm just going to show you how to attach this to the headset. You're going to grab your headset and you're going to place your pumpkin where you want it. I like mine a little bit on the side. Okay, so we're going to grab our tails around it and then I'm going to pull it around. Now here's where you can wrap it around again. Or you can wrap it around really as many times as you'd like to make this really nice and secure. And you want to make sure that this is really tight. And then I'm having this kind of on the side where I want the bow to hang down. So if I was on the other side, then I'd want this over here. Sorry, this is quite difficult to show on camera, but now I'm going to tie a knot. Make that as tight as you can. And then you are just going to tie a little bow. So I'm gonna tighten this, and then I'm just gonna keep adjusting this until it is how I want it to be. There we go, and now it is attached to our headset, and we have our cute little bow here. Thank you all so much for watching this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so any help with that would be really appreciated. I would love to make more little headset accessories like this. I already have some ideas for some Christmas ones, but let me know in the comments what other ones you would like to see. I'll see you next time. Bye!